thought this would be a good one to talk about given the Trump and DC news. And we have definitely talked about crime perceptions versus crime rates before, but just to have a final stamp on the data for 2024, because the FBI just released its crime report for the full year of 2024 with all their data, we have had a nearly 15% decline in murder, a 4.5% decline in violent crime rates other than murder, and about an 8% decline in property crime. So not just murder and violent crimes, but also property crime.
And yet we still have talk of American carnage and vermin that are infecting our cities, or at least that is what we are told. Look, crime always sells, meaning stories of crime have been a staple of news for a long time. And I don't think there's been a period of time in the United States where people's perception of crime rates has been way, way higher than actual crime rates. Even when crime was very bad, people thought it was even worse. And when crime went down, people thought it was worse. And then when crime went up in like 21, 22, or kind of that COVID crime spike, there was a degree of like, yeah, we knew that. Like we knew crime was bad, even though it was anomalously bad. And now that it's coming back down again, people still think it's anomalously bad. So there are a lot of people who feel that police departments in most metropolitan areas are chronically underreporting crime in their own statistics. Like that, well, yeah, the statistics are showing the crime's going down, but come on, we know the fact that they're being told to underreport. I mean, like it's kind of hard to underreport murders and violent crime. Presumably you could underreport, larcenies, but then that's a whole other issue. Do you like really believe there's a conspiracy amongst every major metropolitan police force from blue cities to red cities? I mean, most cities are more blue than red, but there are certainly cities that are in red areas. And I don't particularly believe that theory that crime rates are much higher than official crime statistics because all these police departments are trying to make themselves look better, or all these municipal governments are trying to make themselves look better. The reality is we live in a safer time than most people think, which doesn't mean that there isn't crime that is dangerous and disruptive. And then, too, when you look at crime statistics in most major metropolitan areas in the United States, most violent crime is confined to very specific areas of those cities. So the anomalies are like when someone in an area where there isn't a lot of crime is subject to violent crime, which then tends to make the news because it's somewhat anomalous. So like, I live in Manhattan. Someone getting murdered on the Upper East Side of Manhattan is unusual. It's certainly not unprecedented. It definitely happens. Someone getting shot in one of the projects in Manhattan is not as unusual, unfortunately, and is much less likely to be the news. But then it creates this impression of crime being everywhere.
Well, also what's interesting about, by the way, the theory that police departments across the nation are underreporting their figures is that, like, did they just start that recently, or have they been doing that the whole time? Because if they've been doing that the whole time, the trend line is still valid.
Right.
The other theory I've seen that's like new that I hadn't seen before is that, yes, crime statistics are down, but perception of it is up because there's a perception of public disorder, because there are more petty crimes like shoplifting and things like that are on your personal radar in your life. I don't know what I make of that.
Like, to the question of if you go into a CVS and everything is behind plexiglass barriers where you need someone to unlock the barrier in order to pick out a product, does that make you think, oh my God, there must be a lot of crime here, because if there weren't, we wouldn't have to, get this stuff off the shelves. And then you go to your local pharmacy, like 5 stores down, and everything's open on the shelves because either crime is not significant enough for them to do that, or they just can't be bothered with setting up plexiglass barriers. I don't know, right? That's another conundrum of all this. So this perception reality thing is definitely a problem. And like everything else, like the question of, when did you stop beating your wife? Like the question is incriminating. Trying to say that crime isn't as high as my opponents or my adversaries are saying is often just a losing argument, right? Because then people can say, yeah, well, but there's still unacceptably high levels of crime, even if it's lower. And it's very hard to counter that argument. Like, what's the counter to it in a political context? Is the counter, some people are going to commit crimes and there's only so much we can do? Like, that's not satisfying to people.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. It's definitely not a winning political strategy.
Which may be why the mayor of DC has recently, in light of the Trump administration's takeover of the police force in the district, has gone from speaking against it to saying, absolutely bring us more resources, right? Because, the mayor can't go, it's okay. Crime's low. We want it to get lower. It's lower than it was.
We're
Like
not,
that's
yeah, we're
not
not worried about it. Yeah. Yeah. Not a winning political message.